Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for my first video from a brand new location. I haven't uploaded in about a week because I've been in the middle of moving, and just yesterday I was finally able to get my setup put back together and ready for video making, at least for the most part, so we should be back to normal starting today. Just so you guys have an idea of what the next couple weeks of content are going to look like, I will be posting a follow-up to my Clone Wars video now that I've finished the entire series, and I'm also working on a final version of my star card guide for Battlefront 2 Heroes. I want to post a version that is definitive, so in a year or even two, if someone is wondering what star cards they should be using, there will be an accurate and up-to-date version on the channel for those people. The previous video is not only missing 2 heroes completely, but I also recommend several cards that no longer exist, and a handful that have been nerfed to the point where they definitely aren't worth using anymore. My plan right now is to just post whatever Star Wars content I want to post and have fun with it. Watching the Clone Wars has just really revitalized my love for Star Wars. Not that it was dead or anything before, but I feel like I've discovered a whole new world of Star Wars after watching the series, and it's a great feeling, especially as someone who runs a Star Wars channel. Anyway, sorry for the long-winded intro. Because I was gone for a week, I wanted to catch you guys up on what was going on, but let's get into what I wanted to jump on and talk about today, which is something I've had on my mind for years, but I always held off on actually discussing publicly because I thought, or at the very least hoped, that EA would figure it all out eventually. What I'm being so cryptic about is the real reason support for Battlefront 2 came to an end, and the hard-to-swallow truth that if EA were even semi-competent, or even somewhat aware of the unbelievable goldmine they are sitting on with the Star Wars gaming license, support for Battlefront 2 wouldn't have ended for years. You may be asking yourself right now, what is this guy talking about? What is the real reason EA pulled the plug on Battlefront 2? To answer your question as simply as possible, the reason boils down to EA being run by a bunch of out-of-touch buffoons, or at the very least, whoever is making the monetization decisions for this franchise has absolutely no idea what they're doing. Even if we ignore Battlefront 2015 and the $50 season pass controversy, EA has utterly failed to properly monetize Battlefront 2 on 2 separate occasions, which is downright embarrassing when you consider just how easily a player-friendly and sustainable monetization system could be implemented when you're dealing with a franchise like Star Wars. Something I think is probably obvious to almost everyone watching, but I'm going to say anyway, is that games that don't make money for the publisher, in this case EA, are not going to receive consistent and long-term support. That's just a reality, especially when you're talking about a company like EA. They don't support games and pay developers out of the goodness of their hearts, they do it to make money, which is what businesses do. But there are player-friendly ways to monetize and non-player-friendly ways to monetize. However, at the launch of Battlefront 2, EA managed to force DICE into making a monetization system that was both extremely non-player friendly, but also so unbelievably poorly thought out that there was no world in which any sane person would even consider buying into that monetization system once they saw what they would actually get out of it. I'm not going to dive in depth into the original monetization system and the loot boxes because it's been covered to death and some of you were around for it, but basically to boil it down simply, you could spend real money to buy crates, and in those crates were random star cards for random units, so basically if you had no self-control, you could spend real money to upgrade everything instantly. Of course, this was not player-friendly whatsoever, but what made that monetization system absolutely baffling and completely ridiculous was how little thought EA clearly put into it, because you could spend a ton of real money and get absolutely nothing out of it, making investing in that system almost entirely pointless. Like I said, the crates were completely random, the cards were for random units and random rarity, and the only way to actually upgrade the heroes you wanted directly was by getting these things called crafting parts from the crates, and building those up was ridiculously slow. During the pre-order access period when this monetization system was still around, a few different news outlets figured out that it would cost around $3,100 to upgrade everything. Or if you wanted to spend no money, it would take you over 5,000 hours of playtime, and that didn't include all of the time you'd be sitting in menus because load times were insanely long at launch. Of course, I didn't even mention that half of the heroes themselves were also locked at launch, which you could also pay huge amounts of money to unlock by buying crates and building up credits from them. As you are all aware, that system was a complete train wreck. EA and also DICE to an extent ended up getting so much heat that the entire system was deactivated the night before launch, so the game was left without the monetization system that was supposed to fund all of the free maps, heroes, and weapons that we were promised for the future. EA even went on the record later saying they got it completely wrong and couldn't afford to make another mistake like that. So DICE spent the next several months reworking the entire progression system and introduced a new method of monetization that was completely cosmetic. The only thing players could fast track their way to with real money were skins. Basically exactly what they should have done at launch, because the amount of customization options that players would go crazy for are almost unlimited, and properly monetized, EA could have made a killing on only cosmetics. And all of that money could have supported a larger dev team, new maps, new heroes, new weapons, all of which would have been free because that's what was promised to us at launch. Free maps, weapons, and heroes while the game was monetized elsewhere. So what exactly was the issue with the appearance-based cosmetic system? The issue was there were no skins players had any reason to spend any real money on. Throughout the entire life cycle of this game, around 30 months in total, DICE released less than 30 purchasable skins, averaging out to less than 1 per month. On top of that, all of those skins could be easily earned just by playing the game. There were so few skins coming out that there was absolutely no reason to ever spend a dime on crystals. Especially once you consider that some hero skins cost over $20 per skin if you decided to spend actual money. Why would you ever spend that much on a single skin if you could just earn them from playing the game over time? Of course, the ability to earn skins somewhat quickly, at least compared to some other modern games, is great for the player in a way. There's no reason to ever spend any real money out of your pocket, and especially if you're a brand new player just getting the game and all of the post-launch content all at once, that's a lot of credits you need to earn. The major issue there is, and this is what became very clear to me and many others just a few months after that system was implemented, a monetization system that isn't making any money gives EA no reason to support the game any longer than they absolutely needed to, which is exactly what they did. They supported the game just long enough where they were getting consistent positive press and had won most of the player base over to the point where the Battlefront name was viable for another game, and hopefully Disney was happy with them once again. And then once that was done, they pulled the plug. Remember, before launch, EA was saying that Battlefront 2 was going to set the standard for live service games, and that it would receive free maps, modes, and heroes long into the future, and constant comparisons were made to Overwatch, which is going on 5 years of support with no plans to stop. They are even releasing a sequel of sorts, but will still be releasing new heroes and maps to the original. It's just really pathetic how badly the monetization in this game was completely botched. Imagine a world where Battlefront 2 put out a cosmetic monetization system just like the one we have, except DICE actually were given the budget for a dev team large enough to release hero skins to make that kind of system sustainable. If DICE had a team who could pump out all the legendary appearances players wanted, like battle damage Darth Vader, Chewbacca with 3PO, Red Robes Palpatine, Bespin Luke, about 10 different Darth Maul appearances, the list is basically endless. But if EA had been smart enough to fund a team dedicated to just that, which would make a monetization system like they planned actually sustainable, the game would still be getting support, and we'd be getting free heroes, maps, reinforcements, and who knows what else into the far future. EA was never going to support this game any longer than they absolutely had to without a proper monetization system, and I think it's become pretty glaringly obvious now that support is over that the Celebration Edition was just a last-minute cash grab. Between when the Celebration Edition was released in late December and the end of support with the Scarif update, only 3 updates were released in that time. A big part of the marketing for the Celebration Edition was how any owners of that version of the game would receive all future cosmetics for free, which is the reason a lot of people bought it in the first place. I just realized this myself while doing the research for this video, but guess how many hero skins DICE released free for Celebration owners after it launched in December? 3, 5, 10 maybe? The answer is 0. Literally 0 skins were released after the launch of the Celebration Edition that were free only for Celebration Edition owners. The January update had no skins whatsoever, the February update also had no skins, and the Scarif update, which was originally scheduled for March but didn't release until a few weeks ago, did include 5 skins, none of which were free only to Celebration Edition owners. The Old Master Maul and Hooded Rey skins were locked behind challenges, and the other 3 skins, Rey with her new lightsaber, Kylo with a hood, and Episode 9 Palpatine, were all unlocked for everyone, whether or not you had the Celebration Edition. To me, it is very slimy to advertise how Celebration Edition owners will unlock all future cosmetics for free, and then release a total of 0 hero skins free to Celebration Edition owners after it launches. It is just baffling to me how out of touch some of the higher-ups at EA clearly are. I mean, they are sitting on a goldmine with the Star Wars license, and while Battlefront 2 is a good game now, there's just so much more that could have been done, and making this game sustainable for long-term support could have been so simple, but obviously that's not the reality we're living in, so here we are. Well guys, that is going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it and could drop a like, I would definitely appreciate it, and if you are new around here, feel free to subscribe. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.